Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Everybody, and welcome to another night of live Penguin TV. We are stoked to have had this live stream running 3 nights in a row this week. So there was a special bonus episode of live Penguin TV last night. So if you're super keen on penguins, if you are a regular water watcher or a regular viewer of live Penguin TV, I hope you enjoyed the bonus episode yesterday. My name is Jordan. I'm a ranger here at Phillip Island Nature Parks at the Penguin Parade, and tonight I'm going to be chatting to you all things penguin while we wait for and while we watch the smallest of the 18 species of penguin, the little penguin, making their way home from the big blue ocean that we can see right in front of us. We're going to watch them as they waddle their way across the sand and across the rocks in front of them back to their burrows on land here on Phillip Island in Victoria, Australia. And tonight we are also joined by the lovely Sue. Sue, come in, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
What are you going to be doing tonight, Sue?
What am I going to be doing tonight? Keeping Jordan company, of course, as always.
Can't wait.
And reading through your questions. And I'll be writing some down and pass them on to Jordan, and maybe even answering some myself in the comments.
Do we hear that? I think that's a challenge. We're going to be getting you to answer some questions. Fabulous.
Yeah. And also get your guesses in, because penguin numbers are out for, from last night. So have a little guess as to how many penguins you think waddled out of the sea last night.
Perfect. Thank you, Sue.
That's okay.
So at any point throughout the evening, if you have a penguin or a Phillip Island or any other penguin parade related question, please do type them in the comments thread of Facebook or YouTube. Like Sue mentioned, she is going to be watching all of your lovely comments coming through and throwing a couple of penguin questions over to me, and if we're lucky she might even answer a few herself. I might get her out in front of the camera to answer some of those questions. So keep those questions coming through. If this is your first time watching live Penguin TV or watching me on live Penguin TV, you'll know that I do have a bit of a tendency to talk and talk and talk, so I will try my best to have a bit of a pause and remember to ask Sue for some questions, because I could just run this whole live stream and more and not run out of things to say. So I will do my best to get Sue to throw over a couple of questions throughout the night, but because we do have so many wonderful people tuning into Live Penguin TV, we do have lots and lots of questions coming through. So if we don't get to your question tonight, please know that we're not ignoring you. There are just so many questions coming through, and it just all depends on what we're talking about, what we see on the screen, and sometimes what's been talked about in the night before. And there's just a huge volume of questions that come through every night. But if you're desperate to have your question answered, hang in there, keep tuning into Live Penguin TV Monday, Wednesday and Saturday nights, and we'll do our absolute best to answer some of your questions. Now, Sue, where are these penguins?
Where are those penguins? They are in the water there somewhere, floating in their rafts. Might be.
Can we see them?
The water is not as choppy, so we might be able to see those little lines on the water, which we call rafts.
Exactly.
Yeah. And those rafts are the little penguins floating on the surface of the water, just waiting for the sun to go down, and then they know it's a little safer to come out of the water, and those scary birds of prey have gone off to bed.
That is exactly right. Thank you, Sue. So the scariest time, like Sue mentioned, the scariest time to cross the beach, or the scariest time of day for a little penguin, is when they are crossing the open sandy beach. Now, these are the smallest, as I mentioned, of the 18 species of penguin. They're only about 1 foot tall, and they're the only penguins in the world with blue feathers. So they've got beautiful blue feathers on their back, which help them camouflage against the surface of the water, because that is their best defense against any of those big scary predators out and about flying during the day. So at night, when they are getting ready to make their way home, they form a group in the water called a raft, so an R-A-F-T, and because there's safety in numbers. And when they're getting ready to come on in, they'll form these little groups by making a sound called a huck, which sounds like huck, 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 huck. So,
Sorry. Huck, 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 huck.
There we go.
Sorry,
Got
the
it.
penguin was having a sleep.
Penguin was having a little micro nap, because these little penguins sleep at 4 minutes at a time. Fun little fact that I don't usually throw into the introduction. So yeah, that's the penguin saying, is there anybody else out there? Can we cross the beach yet? Is it dark? Is it safe? What do we think? So if you were here at the Penguin Parade, you'd be able to hear hundreds of little voices calling out to each other. Now, Sue also mentioned a little bit earlier that we do have some special numbers that we will be announcing very shortly. So every single night here on Live Penguin TV, at the Penguin Parade, but also on Live Penguin TV, we count penguins, believe it or not. We count penguins for 50 minutes. 50 minutes every single night, and we've been doing it nearly every night since 1968. So it's part of the longest running penguin survey in the world. So the penguins, the start of our count starts when the first 5 penguins get to the halfway point on the beach, because usually at that halfway point, when they're crossing the beach getting ready to come home, they know there's no point turning back. So you're pretty, you're meant to not be able to double count them, but there's always an exception to the rule. Sometimes the penguins like to prove us wrong. But yeah, we count them then for 50 minutes, again, just under an hour, and every single night we get a final total of how many penguins cross the beach. Now, last night, if you're watching Live Penguin TV, our live streams do go for a shorter duration than the penguin count. So every night we don't get an updated number, because you have to just tune in the next time to figure it out. So, and I know a lot of our water watchers do like to guess how many penguins cross the beach the night before. So, Sue, have we had many guesses?
We have.
Lovely.
So Jason suggested 650.
650. Ooh, nice, Jason.
Penny suggested 609. And Rhiannon was pretty close at 522.
So I'm getting a lower number than that.
Lower.
Yes.
So do you want the number now?
Ready for a drum roll?
436 penguins swam ashore last night.
430. I nearly got my hair there, 436 penguins. So every single night we do actually get different numbers of penguins crossing the beach because these are seabirds. They spend about 80% of their lives out in the beautiful big blue ocean. And the ocean is their supermarket, it's their playground, that's where they get their food from. As soon as they come on land, they're effectively on a diet or they're fasting. So they only come home if they absolutely have to. And I might go into a little bit more about why we might have some slightly lower penguin numbers right now, and it is for a pretty cool, a bit of an exciting reason. But before all the excitement starts with our feathered friends when they decide that it's dark enough to hit the water's edge and start their little waddle or their little dangerous dash home, I just wanted to stop and acknowledge the land on which the penguin parade is on and where we are bringing the penguins to you from today. So of course we are here on Phillip Island. It's the traditional lands of the Bunurong, who are the traditional custodians of this land, of Milau, and Milau is the name given by the Bunurong to Phillip Island. So we like to pay our respects to Bunurong elders past, present and emerging, and pay our respects to the ways in which they have cared for this country over many, many thousands of years. And we are so, so lucky and blessed and privileged to call Milau Phillip Island home. We have a thriving, wonderful ecosystem and the largest colony of the littlest species of penguins in the world, all due to the sustainable management of the Bunurong over a very, very long time, thousands of years before European settlement. So I just wanted to pay my respects to the Bunurong of the Kulin Nation, and I would love to hear in the comments if you know who the traditional custodians are of the land that you're watching from today as well. And if you don't, that's totally fine. It might just be time to give it a quick Google because it's really important that we acknowledge First Nations people, the land on which we live, work, learn and play as well. Now, because tonight, if you were watching last night on Live Penguin TV, we did actually start this live stream a little bit earlier, and that's because over the last couple of days, I don't know if anyone or how many of us are living in Melbourne on Bunurong country or Wurundjeri or Gurnai country, but there's been a fair bit of rain recently. We've had a little bit of a downpour, and at sunset, because the penguins are waiting for it to get really dark or get to that light level where they think those predatory birds, swamp harriers, sea eagles, Pacific gulls, they're waiting for them to go to bed for the night because those predatory birds need the light to find their way back home. And the penguins have worked out, they've pinpointed the right time to cross the beach when there's a relatively low risk of getting swooped down on and eaten for a pre-dinner snack by these big birds. But because last night, or because in previous nights it has been quite wet and rainy, the stormy rain clouds have been hanging around at sunset, making it darker earlier, which means the penguins can cross the beach earlier because when it gets darker earlier, those predatory birds are going to bed earlier as well. Tonight, on the other hand, we have a beautiful low tide, like you can see, and we don't have heaps and heaps of clouds. We do have kind of looks like a nice dense cloud out the front of Pyramid Rock, and you can see the beacon just kind of shining away there. But outside of that, it is actually quite clear. So it's still relatively bright outside. So it's not quite safe for our little penguins to start making their way home. Although I just wonder, I've spotted a little shadow in the water. Could this be a raft of penguins? And come on camera, let's, yes, there you are. There are our penguin suit. Fantastic. So you can see this little shadow in the water over there. This is a group of penguins and they are chatting amongst themselves, trying to work out if it is dark enough, if there's enough of them, and if it's safe enough to start making their way home. Now, because it is a fairly low tide, the ocean is a little bit further away now. So sorry, I know we are super duper zoomed in. I hope no one's getting seasick. I might end up getting a bit sick. But yeah, in fact, it kind of looks like they're moving a little bit towards us, towards this live stream camera or Penguins Plus. Ooh. Yep, you can kind of see as they get closer, they will get a little bit easier to see. So yeah, I don't reckon they'll be too far off. We haven't had a start of the count yet.
But, Sonia, who's counting tonight, has said that we have penguins at the water's edge.
Oh, so penguins at the water's edge. Well, these penguins, they're definitely making a bit of a run or a swim for it, a sprint for it. Come on, camera, let's wake up. I know I'm making you work hard tonight because we are quite zoomed out. But they are, I think we're getting closer and closer to shore. Very good. I might zoom out just a touch so we can see if there's been... Oh, I've missed the first little group. Oh my lordy. Sorry, everybody. There has been a nice early bird group, pardon the pun, who have decided that it is time and ready to start doing their march across the beach. So the first couple of groups, or waddles we like to call them here on Phillip Island, the first couple of waddles of penguins are usually pretty nervous because it's still a little bit light. There's still the potential that there may potentially, and there's that raft that we saw earlier. You can see them in the top left-hand corner. I don't know which one to focus on. I think I'm going to focus on our first brave group. So yeah, those are kind of, I guess you could almost say the scouts. They're the first group to try and cross the beach. And the later it gets, the darker it gets, the safer it's going to be, because the likelihood that there's any predatory birds around will have reduced a fair bit. Now, you can see these penguins have decided to kind of congregate on these dark rocks over here. These are all fully grown penguins that we're watching cross the beach just now. And some of these rocks could be about their head height or maybe even bigger, so it's a little bit tricky for them to cross these rocks. But you can see now that they're in these really dark basaltic rocks right in front of us, they do become a little bit more difficult to see. And because crossing the beach at the end of the day and when they head back out into the ocean at the morning is so scary and they are so vulnerable, if they can find little areas along the beach where they're a bit more camouflaged, where they can kind of blend in with the rocks and they can become invisible little sneaky ninjas, then they are going to try and take that pathway, even if it is a little bit more difficult for them to get across. Oh, and it looks like we do have that nice big group who has washed on up, but I'm sure we'll be able to see them crossing momentarily. But I want to focus on this first little brave group that we have over here. Do we have many guesses to how many penguins are in each of these waddles, Sue? I'm sure, I know every night there's numbers flying left, right and centre, am I right?
There is, yeah. Let me see.
All right, while Sue's having a little bit of a look, these guys have hit kind of the last, it's not really the 50 metres, but it's...
have some numbers in. Sorry, keep going, Jordan.
Cool, all right, well, I'll give Sue a moment to collect her guesses. Oh, and there's Ranger Paul. But yeah, you've noticed that these penguins just now have really picked up the pace a little bit. It's that kind of last little bit, that second half of the beach that they cross, that they know there's no point turning back, so they really do pick up the pace. So get your guesses coming in, everybody. If Sonia isn't too busy, we might be lucky enough to get some numbers radioed through, but penguin counting is a really, really tricky job. So sometimes our penguin counters do get a little bit distracted because they're too busy counting penguins, doing a very, very important job of continuing this really important bit of research. So would love to get your guesses in anyway, and bonus point or bonus for us if we do get those numbers announced over the radio. But these little dudes have made their way home, and when they're on land they do tend to relax a little bit more. And fabulous, we still have our beautiful big puddle, and the penguins can kind of swim part of the way home, because you've obviously I was just about to say how graceful penguins are on land, and that one just kind of slipped. I was being a bit facetious there. I would like to think that the penguins love that there's a little bit of a swimming pool here, because they're much better in the water than what they are on land. One other thing before I get some guesses from you, Sue, of our waddle watchers.
Yes.
Before you say that, I just want to say, obviously you can see that there's some people in the camera. I'm going to try my best to kind of keep away from them so we can focus on the penguins and not look at the back of everybody's head. But luckily, Phillip Island Nature Park's the Penguin Parade. We are open to regional Victoria at the moment, which is fantastic, because we get our funds to protect penguins and do our conservation education and research work through people like these who saw the backs of their heads coming to visit us. Oh, we've got some penguins on the highway. I might flick over to them in the next group. We get our money to protect these beautiful animals and their habitats through visitors. So we're a visitor-funded organisation here at Phillip Island Nature Park. So we're so stoked that we can have people back, and that helps us contribute to all the wonderful conservation work that we do. So really hope we can invite all of you back. as quickly and as safely and practically as possible. But in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying watching live Penguin TV. We definitely have enjoyed being able to talk about penguins throughout the lockdowns and throughout the restrictions, because that's what we do. That's what Sue and I do. Penguins all the time. So I think we were all going a little bit stir crazy when we couldn't talk about penguins. But live Penguin TV gave us a little bit of an outlet to talk about penguins, and I think we're very, very grateful for it. Alrighty, so I might switch over to the Penguin Highway. And Sue, do we have any questions or any numbers for us?
We have some numbers. So we've got Belinda suggested 29 in that first group.
29.
Yeah, Chris suggested 75. Sa suggested 38. But I think Claire is the winner of 35.
35.
Because Sonia said there was 32.
Oh, she did manage to get those through. How wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Son. And who was our winner for that waddle?
Claire.
Claire. Wonderful work, Claire. Would love to have you in the skybox counting penguins with Ranger Sonia. I'm sure she would be very much appreciative, especially because you're such an accurate counter. So these little penguins, this is what we call the Penguin Highway. It's the most popular penguin pathway here at the Penguin Parade, where we get most of our penguins making their way home, and we get to see them up nice, close and personal. And we'll see, oh, there's one penguin hanging out on the hill. Is anyone going to overtake us on the camera? Oh, yep, there they go. You can see them absolutely zooming on through. They are on a mission, these little penguins on the highway, and they know exactly where the exit is to their highway, just like us. They've got their own address, so they know the way to get home. Very, very clever little penguins, and off they go on up the highway. Alrighty, let us flick back to our main screen, and I think it might be time for a bit of a question from our waddle watchers. Sue, what do we think?
Okay, alrighty. So, Sue, not me.
Sue,
not
you've
me,
got a
Sue.
question. Oh
Not
my
me,
god, it's going to be a really hard
No,
one.
Sue.
You're going to make me look like a fool on live Penguin TV without knowing the answer.
No, definitely not. Why the numbers are a bit smaller? So why have the numbers gone down a bit? And we were discussing this a little bit earlier.
We were.
Could it be possibly that it's mating / egg laying time? Yeah.
Are you sure this question wasn't from you, Sue?
No, it's Sue S.U.
Sue
not
S.U.?
Sue S.U.E.
Okay, hi
Yeah.
Sue S.U. Really good question, and we have some penguins hanging out on the resting rocks, but you're going to have to excuse me. I would like to take our camera back to the beach and see if there are any more penguins getting ready to, yes, my ears were burning. I knew, or their ears were burning. I'm not sure which way it goes. There's a couple on the rocks, I think, ahead of this group, but I might focus in on these guys because why not? So Sue, really interesting question, and I will preface this by saying I don't have a concrete scientific answer for you, but you've alluded to some really interesting, more penguins coming along. Hello, friends. So the breeding season has officially begun here for these little penguins at the Penguin Parade. Super exciting. A lot of our study sites currently have little penguin eggs. So penguins usually lay 2 eggs at once. They'll lay 1 egg, and then 24 hours later they will lay a second. And then, we've got a few more friends off to the left. Oh yes, hello. That's what you guys were looking at behind you. I knew there was something there. So a lot of penguins are sitting on eggs, keeping them nice and warm, and it's really lovely with these penguins because both mum and dad take it in turns sitting on the eggs, so they share incubation duties, and they also take it in turns keeping the little chickies nice and warm when they hatch, while the other one heads out into the ocean and brings back a beautiful belly full of fish, squid, and jellyfish or salps. And so they really do share that duty, which is really cool. Now, this is kind of anecdotal evidence from last year. Oh, yep, we can see this group that we saw earlier is definitely joining. I wonder if that group behind is going to wait or if it's going to make a mega waddle with this group, because they're all really spread out, aren't you? Guys, stick together. There's safety in numbers. So one of the things that I was lucky enough last year while our sites were closed to help one of our other rangers and hosts of live Penguin TV I was able to help Megan with an annual tracking project that we do that allows us to see where the penguins have been travelling during the different stages of the breeding season. And we've been doing this tracking project for quite a number of years, and it shows us how there's variation into where the penguins are travelling year after year, if it's an El Nino year or La Nina year, if it's particularly hot, cool, productive kind of year out in the ocean where there's plenty of food and it's really kind of close to our shores. But what we found last year is that I distinctly remember there was this one penguin pair who there was one adult, one parent stayed on its eggs for 8 days while its partner was out in the ocean fishing, getting nice and fat, and then they switched over. So that was a really long kind of incubation shift. That's 8 days without any food or any water. Penguins drink seawater and they got a little desalination plant in their nose. So yeah, we have found that with eggs, because they don't need to be fed, they just need someone to kind of sit on them and keep them nice and warm. But our penguin numbers or adult numbers when they cross the beach, they tend to increase when there's actually chicks in the colony, because the chicks can't really wait 8 days for food. They need to be fed every day or once every 2 days, especially if they're really, really little. So during incubation, adults can tend to actually spend a little bit longer. This is from last year, what I kind of saw. I don't know if there's any scientific studies, so don't take my word here as gospel. It's just anecdotal at the moment. And look, they've joined a mega waddle. Excellent. Welcome home, little friends. So yeah, when they're incubating their eggs, they don't have to return as often because they don't have to feed their little chickies. So without going into the studies and harassing our Professor Penguin or our marine biologist, Dr. Andre Sharadia, my best guess would say that our penguin numbers have dropped is because there's actually already quite a few penguins here on land staying inside their burrows during the day, keeping their eggs nice and warm. So hopefully that means in the next couple of weeks we'll have quite a few of these little eggs hatching, and then a few weeks after that the chicks will be a little bit big enough, brave enough and boisterous enough to start heading outside their burrows, and we might be lucky enough to catch a few little chickadees on the screen heading outside their burrow. They kind of look like little brown fluffy monsters. They're about the same size as the adult penguins that we're seeing here, but they're completely brown and fluffy until their adult feathers start to kind of poke on through. So that is my best guess as to why we might have some slightly lower penguin numbers than usual at the moment. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I was kind of discussing with Sue on the way in. So while we do have fewer penguins crossing the beach, there's already a lot of penguins that are actually at home already, which is equally as exciting, especially because there's eggs and we might be getting little baby penguins soon. So thank you, Sue, for that lovely, lovely question. And I think I spent such a long time on that question. So how about we have another couple of questions, because I'm conscious that we're only meant to be running this live stream for about 20 to 30 minutes. And I've been talking for 25 minutes and I've only answered one question so far. So okay, let's go for a few more questions.
Right. So Ingrid would like to know, how far out to sea do penguins go?
How did you know that? Was this because I was talking about penguin tracking soon? I wonder. Or are we just kind of on a theme of penguin tracking, which will be happening very shortly as well? It's around about this time that we start attaching some little penguin GPS biologgers on them so that we can see where they're going. So each penguin is completely different, and it just depends on where the food is as to how far the penguins will actually travel. And I'm going to flick over to our highway because it looks like we've got a few friends coming up the highway just over here. So some penguins have been found feeding in Western Port Bay, which is in between us here and the Mornington Peninsula, and sometimes they've also been feeding off Cape Woolamai. So a little bit earlier, while we were waiting for the penguins, you might remember me talking about that kind of one big cloud that we saw. Oh my God, come on camera, catch up. And we saw kind of that blinking light. So just kind of out from that area over there, in previous years when there's been plenty of food around and it's actually been quite close, they only have to go like, how far away is Cape Woolamai? Is it like 20 kilometres? No, it's not 20 kilometres, is it? 10 kilometres.
Yeah, it wouldn't be quite 20.
10 to 20-ish kilometres. So
I'm not very good with kilometres.
I'm not good with kilometres either.
I'm sorry, don't ask me that question.
Sorry to put you on the spot there. I'm like, oh, hang on, I don't even know how to answer this question.
I have to Google it.
Not far away, a penguin can swim around about 100 kilometres in a day, but that actually takes into account the distance that they dive as well. So they don't just travel 100 kilometres kind of from A to B. It might be 50 kilometres, and there's also 50 kilometres worth of dives in there as well. Oh, and we've got a little bit of interesting things happening over here, and I've got to quickly wrap up this question so I can talk about these penguins going the opposite way. So sometimes they are traveling not too far away from Phillip Island, which is great because they can go out in the morning and come back at night and make sure their little chickies have a nice, very happy, full tummy full of food. But sometimes when the water is a little bit warmer, the adults have to travel a little bit further away in search of food, because when the weather gets warmer, the waters get warmer. Come on, camera. And their prey source likes to seek cooler waters, so their prey will kind of go a little bit further away, so the penguins have to travel to where the food is. They can't just summon it and go to the supermarket when they like. Hello, lovely girls. Hello, beautifuls. I'll talk to these. Oh, that one's looking at the camera. I wonder if it can see it moving. But the furthest away we have found... Oh, can you see that penguin looking at the ground? Oh, I've got to wrap up this question. Too much happening. The furthest penguin from this colony, I believe it was a juvenile penguin, although I could be wrong, might have to double check that. It was found at the Victorian South Australian border, which is hundreds of kilometres away. So again, these little penguins can spend up to 4 or 5 weeks out at the ocean at a time, especially in the middle of winter where they're not breeding. They don't need to come home to sit on eggs, to feed their chicks, to guard their territory. So yeah, they tend to travel a little bit further then, and juveniles do as well, because they spend a lot longer out in the ocean. It looks like we've got a few friends crossing the beach just now as well. So yeah, quite hundreds of kilometres is the answer. And I'm gonna throw back to another anecdotal experience that I had helping Megan with her penguin tracking last year, is that we had 2 females while their breeding partners, while the boyfriends or the hubbies were at home. These 2 females went over halfway to Tasmania, which is again a very, very long way out into the rough waters of the Bass Strait. So they're much, much better and much more competent out in the ocean than what they are on land. So yeah, really, really good question. Was it Claire? Sue? No, hang on, I'm getting lost.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, got
Ingrid.
Ingrid.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't any of those. My goodness. Sorry, everybody. Now, we have some penguins that are going the opposite way. What could that mean? You know what, Sue? I have been talking a fair bit. So hang on. I just want to, before I throw you under the bus and get you in front of the camera, how do you feel about answering this question?
I can answer that question.
Alrighty. So let's get you back to some penguins.
Have we got a little mothers group heading down to the beach?
We do. Oh, look, there's one.
Ooh. Okay, alrighty. So those little penguins haven't lost their way. They're not thinking, nah, I think I'll just go back out to sea again after coming in. Those little penguins are female penguins, and they are they're coming up soon to be, they're going to lay their eggs. So what those little penguins are doing is they're coming down to the beach, and they're going to peck up or eat up all the little bits of shell grit. So all the bits of broken up shell off the sand, and then they're going to swallow it, and they sort of ingest it. And it gives their eggs some strength for when their eggs hatch, and possibly also replaces some of the lost calcium that they also may lose in the process of making their eggs. So yeah, often you do see a whole group, and I like to put it that it's like a little mothers group all coming down, and maybe they chat about when their chickies are going to be born, and yeah, so that's the shell gritters.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. This little mother who is, there you go, looking down at the ground.
Oh yeah, she's like, oh, there's a good bit there. No, I might just go and see if I can find a slightly bigger piece. Maybe I'll leave that one for Martha.
Look, she's found a friend.
Ooh, she has too. She's saying, "Oh, I was hoping you'd come down the beach tonight as well."
Love it. Thank you, Sue.
It's okay.
People say it's really scary getting in front of the camera, but Sue's a natural, so I hope you loved her explanation. She is a wealth of knowledge, and we might have to get you in front of the camera a little bit more. Sue, what do you think?
Possibly.
You'll be great at it. Alrighty. Oh, looks like we have another little group of penguins hanging out in these rocks. Because it is getting a little bit dark, this will probably be the last time. Oh my gosh, it's 7:13 already. We can talk, and it wasn't even just my fault this evening. Even Sue had a little bit of a chat away as well. Hee. So this will be the last time that we have a little bit of a look at these penguins out at the beach before it gets a little bit too dark and the camera quality might start to get a little bit grainy. But these little penguins are actually going to be crossing the beach and making their way home for about 3 hours. From the first penguin to the last one can take up to 3 hours for all the penguins to have decided they want to come home to make their way home in the evening. But of course, we are not here for that entire time. One thing that you can probably also see that these penguins are quite lit up. So we do have lights here at the Penguin Parade. So our visitors who we've seen the backs of the heads of can watch these beautiful little birds making their way home. Now, all of the lighting that we have here at the Penguin Parade is fitted with a wildlife friendly filter. So it doesn't negatively impact our penguins' eyes. These penguins have grown up. Oh, looks like we've got another shell gritter, the one that Sue was just talking about. I totally lost what I was saying. What was I saying, Sue? Talking about lights.
I was busy typing.
No, that's fine. I think I'm talking about wildlife-friendly lights. So they're kind of a reddy orange colour because penguins don't see very well in the blue kind of green colour light, blue colour spectrum. And one of the things that intense blue light can do is disrupt their sleep hormone. And of course, that's going to have a negative physiological or physical impact to these little penguins. And that's not what we're about here. So we do have special wildlife friendly lights, and because penguins don't see super well in red colour light, the light that we can see, you and I, it's not as clear to the penguins as what it is to us. And the penguins, that's what I was saying, the penguins have grown up with people here for about 100 years. Not that a penguin's going to live 100 years. The oldest penguin that we know of was about just under 26 years old when he was last observed. But penguins have grown up with having people around, and there's lots of kind of strict rules and behavioural expectations that we have to set and make sure people follow. And one of those is to make sure that these lights are turned off at the same time every single night, so that any penguins that decide they want to cross the beach in the 50 minutes that we count them for can do that, and we're not disrupting their behaviour. But any penguins that might be kind of waiting for all the people to leave and for the lights to go out, that's why we turn the lights off at the same time, and we move people away from the Penguin Parade at the same time every single night, so that any maybe more nervous penguins can come home and we're not kind of delaying their return back to their burrows. So that's why we have lights on here at the moment, and there's been lots and lots of research, hey little friends, into what does and doesn't impact their behaviour, and having people here and having these lights on for that set limited time with that specific light frequency doesn't appear to change any of their behaviour, which means we can share these little penguins with the world. And it's a really important thing because, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're a visitor-funded non-for-profit organisation, and oh my goodness, what is happening over here? This penguin, who is now behind the bush, looked like it was kind of putting its flippers back and kind of showing off a little bit, but I've just lost him. Oh, it's a little bit hard to tell. So yeah, we're super excited that we can actually have people back here at the Penguin Parade while our sites have been closed for quite some time over the last 18 months. So really hope you can come and visit us when it is safe to do so. We're really looking forward to having you back. Make sure you come and say hello to us. Let us know that you've watched the live stream. It means a lot that people have watched this and then want to come to the Penguin Parade, to Churchill Island, the Nobbies, and the Koala Conservation Reserve, which we all look after, and by coming again and visiting us, you are supporting us in protecting these beautiful birds and their island neighbours as well. Now, I've been talking, as I said, for a fair bit, and I think I've only answered 2 questions, Sue. So before we sign off tonight, how about we finish off with one more question, and then we will say goodbye in the language of the penguins.
Okay, so a lot of people have been mentioning the earthquake today, so I thought I should bring it up.
My goodness, how crazy was that earthquake? Oh my gosh.
We possibly don't know the answer to this question either, but it's along the lines of, did the earthquake affect the penguins?
Ooh, good question.
I'm probably assuming maybe the penguins in the water, maybe not. Mm-hmm. Possibly the penguins on land felt the earthquake, but yeah, their burrows weren't affected that we know of, were they?
No. Yeah. So I believe the epicenter was in Macedon Ranges, so kind of north
Mansfield.
Mansfield. There we go. North of Melbourne, so it's quite far away from here. It was amazing. I was just sitting at home this morning having my morning coffee, and then all of a sudden the house started shaking, and I'm sure everyone here probably experienced the exact same thing. It was really, really cool if you live in Melbourne. I think it was even felt in Sydney, Sue. So out in the ocean, big yawn. Out in the ocean, they probably wouldn't have felt it exactly like Sue said. But yeah, look, they would have noticed that there was some kind of, rumbling. Luckily down here, it was just kind of a bit of a general shake. So it wasn't too strong or too disruptive. Thankfully, at least. Penguins are going too quickly. Look at their cute little tracks. Aren't they gorgeous? So yeah, look, absolutely. I'm sure they would have noticed it. We haven't had, to my knowledge, any burrow collapses or any abandonment of burrows or anything like that, just because the tremor wasn't super strong here. But yeah, of course, same with lightning, same with any kind of big storm or meteorological or seismological, big words, event. They would definitely kind of know about it, but of course it's normal, it's natural, it wasn't a super destructive event. Thankfully, we're very, very lucky that in Australia we don't tend to get very strong earthquakes. I was just gonna have a quick look. So yeah, there's no kind of immediate danger or no significant impact that I know of on the penguins, but of course they would have noticed it. Oh, fun little tidbit. I'm not sure if anyone is super keen on watching the Peregrine Falcon cam in Melbourne CBD. If you're looking for kind of more live stream bird cameras, that's a great one to have a little bit of a look at, and it was really cute to see the peregrine falcon, who I think was sitting on eggs. It kind of got up off its eggs and it looked around as the kind of whole building was shaking, and it looked really confused, the poor little thing. So I'm sure the penguins would have had a very similar response to that one there. Yeah, great question. I did wonder if we get any earthquake questions tonight, Sue. So yeah, that's a really good one. Thanks for that. And I sometimes I feel like a little bit of a dum-dum if I don't know what the answers are, but it just gives us more things to learn from and to kind of investigate as well. So thank you all for your super interesting and inquisitive questions.
And someone mentioned this earlier, and I can't find your name back in here, but it was on the lines of what did the earthquake say? Boom, boom. It's not my fault.
What did the earthquake say? Boom, boom, it's not my fault. My gosh. You must have been hanging out with Stephen too much. Stephen is the king of dad jokes here at Phillip Island Nature Parks. If you were lucky enough to watch, I think it was him and Tom, sometime last year, Stephen managed to work in like 20 penguin or ocean or Phillip Island related jokes. Ricali! I just spotted a Ricali, a little water rat. And it is somewhere. Oh, no, there it is. Damn it. Wait. Where'd it go? Oh, I think it's just gone behind those people. Damn it. If anyone was quick enough to see it, let me get away from all of those people. Sorry, guys. I just spotted a native water rat. So a native rat here to Phillip Island with beautiful little webbed feet. Not an enemy to the penguins, so nothing to be worried about. But if you saw something that kind of looked like a large rat or maybe a small otter with a skinny tail and little white kind of tip on the end, that was just a friendly neighbour of the penguin, which was really cool. And we do get to see lots of different neighbours of the Penguins, having a little bit of a cameo here on Live Penguin TV.
And just a shout out to Karen. That was her joke.
Oh, thank you.
I don't want to take the credit for that joke.
Thank you, Karen. Keep those terrible jokes coming. And absolutely love it. Alrighty, I think it might be time for us to finish up on Live Penguin TV tonight because surprise, we have gone a little bit more overtime like we always do. And you know what, Sue? You are an enabler of me. You didn't give me the 5-minute warning, so I just got to... So I just got to keep on talking.
Yeah, 3 hours later. Oh, that's the 5 minutes, Jordan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We'll go for another Jordan 5 minutes. Alrighty, thanks again so much, everybody, for tuning in and for your passion. Oh, look at this cute little mothers group. Hang on a second. Let's draw it out a little bit longer. Some more shell gritters heading on down the highway to look for some shell grit to make their eggshells nice and strong. So looking forward to seeing you again on Live Penguin TV, or again, hopefully live in person when you can and when it is safe for you to do so. Really looking forward to having all of you back ASAP. But in the meantime, you can tune into Live Penguin TV again on, what's today? Is today Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday.
Yes, you can tune in on Saturday night. That is the next time that we will be running this live stream. So you're looking forward to having you back then. Get your questions ready. And if you're desperate to know how many penguins you thought crossed the beach tonight, you're just going to have to sit tight and wait for those numbers again on Saturday. I think that's about everything I have to say. Good. Oh, one thing that I haven't mentioned this live stream yet. If you are interstate or international and you aren't able to visit us anytime soon, but love the work that we do and would love to help support us, you can donate to the Penguin Foundation. The link is in the description of the video. You can adopt a penguin, and it's a symbolic adoption. You can name your penguin, or you can adopt an Eastern Barred Bandicoot or an Australian fur seal, or just make a donation. Any little bit that you can spare, we really appreciate, because of course with restrictions we haven't been able to have people visiting us quite as much, but the Penguin Foundation actually funds our wildlife hospital where we look after sick and injured penguins and other native wildlife, as well as funding a range of other cool research projects that help us to learn a little bit more about little penguins and our wonderful wildlife here on Phillip Island, here on Milau. So I've said we hope we can have you back soon. I've got my Penguin Foundation plug-in. We covered penguin numbers. You've got to tune in on Saturday. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So, all right, come on in. Now we have to say goodbye in the language of the penguin.
Yes.
So we will, how do you feel about doing a trill? Or do you just want to
try?
You want to try? Okay, so we gave you how penguins tend to kind of greet each other. Is that huck?
Mm-hmm. Huck.
But when penguins are kind of showing off to each other, saying, "This is my home, I'm a beautiful penguin, come hither ladies," or "This is my territory, you stay away," they might kind of have a bit of a braying or a trill sound, and I'm going to cut in a moment to our thanks for watching screen, and you can listen to our beautiful penguin impressions as we go. So thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.